All right, welcome everybody. It is March 7th, 2023, and this is the bi-weekly Cloud Custodian community meeting. I'll be your host today. Please remember that we are under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so that's in effect, and please be excellent to each other. Also, please remember that we do record these meetings and put them up on YouTube for the community to be able to look up stuff. With that, I've put the link to the notes in chat, and I'll go ahead and share it. Let's see, boom, boom, boom. How's that?
Looks good.
Do y'all see that? You see an infinity mirror.
I see infinity mirror. So it
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
good
yeah.
eventually. It's eventually consistent good.
Yeah. That's called picking the wrong window. There we go.
Looks good.
That's better.
What's up?
That is better.
Yeah. All right, light meeting today, so let's get through what we got to do and get people time back. I know we love it. As always, got the link to the Slack server there up top if people want to check it out, and the usual warning for Python 3.7 that we want to move away from this year. So we're just putting that on the top of every announcement that we can to get the word out as much as possible. Today, Kapil has some release updates, and he has so many that we're going to do a bunch that are important to probably a lot of people, and then we're going to do the pull requests and things like that, and then afterwards go through the minutia of the release stuff that some people might not be interested in. So we'll do that. Tips and tricks sections and discussions. AJ, you did this. You want to give everyone a quick
Sure.
idea on how you ended up with this?
Yeah, this was based on some earlier community meeting talks and some discussion in the Slack community about trying to pull out some usage patterns that people find helpful, but that are a little bit more niche than would justify an inclusion in the docs. So I sort of seeded the thread with a couple discussions about just lesser used things that I do, like looking at inspecting like custodian cache or trying to test policies by running against local stack. But in general, I guess the call to the community is if there's something that you do that's not in the documentation, maybe a way that Custodian combines usefully with another tool or something like that, James path expressions, specific policy authoring tips that you think are handy, we can put them in here. Feel free to start threads there and just kind of share the knowledge. If something is generally useful enough, it's always possible for us to promote something from a tips and tricks section into an actual docs page. So that is an option. But I don't really know where it's going to go, so we'll just hope that some of it ends up being useful to folks and spark some ideas in others.
Cool. Any questions for AJ?
At least with local stack, I think what would also potentially be awesome in that is also doing a provisioning with Terraform, and then running setting up your initial environment with Terraform. What might be an interesting context for that as well.
Yes, actually, that is a good callback to some workshops that we used to run. We did stuff like that where we would have a set of Terraform templates that were also pointing at local stack, provision some resources, run Custodian against them, and it would all operate against local stack. That might be worth reviving. Good call.
Yeah, I mean, you're using the standard SDK thing that they added in about per endpoint overrides the environment. Like, is that the technique?
Is that available yet? I was using the sort of hack workaround of using the plugin, the custom endpoint plugin. Last I knew, there were several open requests to add environment variable support or some other things.
They added it, but
they did add it. Oh, nice.
But it's you have to override every service endpoint, I believe.
If you have a link, that wouldn't be a bad thing to.
I'm looking for it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and that's actually a good call while we're looking for links to follow up with community folks. If anyone goes to look at a tips and tricks discussion and they think, oh, well, this is kind of cool, but it would be way better if, then that's an excellent reply. So yeah, for the local stack thing, adding Terraform support or getting rid of a plugin dependency would be neat.
So I believe this is the proposal they ran with. Oh wait, never mind. Is that right? I saw a discussion of this, and I did believe it got merged as far as like per endpoint override. So that's not the best issue. Reading link. I'll see if I can find a better one. I'll have to go on mute for
Yeah,
that.
I had a few links too. I'll have to go dig back into it because I know there were a lot of open issues and abandoned PRs. Okay. Because I think this had many starter discussions, some under the Bodo org, but it was really more of a cross SDK discussion, which I guess is when the proposal came in. All right, so this needs more looking, I guess. But thanks for that.
All right. All right, Kapil, you're up next with release engineering stuff. This is the part with the major parts. Yeah.
The easiest thing to do is accumulate cruft over time in any software project, and our release engineering stuff had accumulated a bunch of it. This is a really boring topic. I want to also preface that. It shouldn't affect anyone on the day-to-day. It will affect contributors, and I'll try to call those out. So we had, for a while, have been carrying around like Python, poetry, setup tools, requirements.txt files, all that's going to go. And we had like multiple ways of installing. We still were carrying a bunch of Tox legacy stuff that, we weren't actually using, but we were trying not to break existing workflows. Like we prize compatibility, so we accumulated additional layers of compatibility, let's say. But you had a certain point of complexity, and you're like, we got to simplify this. And so right now, that's a couple different things. The first one is stripping out our old Tox support that's already landed, stripping out the setup PY and requirements generation that's up in a PR. And we're effectively move over completely to poetry. In the we added a new plugin to the GitHub org as a repository poetry plugin freeze, which preserves our existing semantics as far as having repeatable installs on the application, as well as operating well in a monorepo. It's independently usable with Custodian for those that are interested in it, and the README on that repo explains why it might be useful. As also part of preserving there was also a revamp on all of the CI infrastructure recently. Most of this is non-material, except for where there's still things that we have to go fix. And that's mostly just upgrading versions, simplifying how CI works itself. And that is mostly in flight. The only thing I think that's pending remaining is fixing some of the doc build times. I will chart to an overall theme on this of a simplification and speed. It is generally like we're looking. I got pre-informed that there might be a bunch of incoming pull requests from an organization that's been waiting to contribute back. So there could be some volume. So just trying to get prepped around that. And that would be across multiple providers. The other part of that was also simplifying the make setup. So it's not just make install, make test, like things you would expect if you have a make file, sort of just work out of the box. And one of the consequences of that is also trying to preserve our 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 CI resources. We get about 20 concurrent out of GitHub. We only get to spin up about 7 per pull request, and I think about 12 per merge domain. Some of those are long-lived. There are some good discussions already up there. I think AJ's kicked off a thread about this, and I dropped a bunch of comments. And if I can find a link, this is 839, and we can effectively, this comes out to like, hey, do we go find some additional compute? And there's different places that optimize for different experiences, both on multi-arch Docker image builds and depot.dev, or we can use other tools that allow us to run CI on our own compute, but still hooked up to GitHub Actions. Nothing's decided on that front. I think we're going to continue to run with what we've got for now, just trying to figure out how to decrease the pain points. But we were dealing with worker exhaustion issues, partly because the cross-arch Docker builds and GitHub Actions are dog slow. And to resolve that, instead of trying to build a separate dev image on every commit to main, we're now going to move to just doing, which was building out the dev alias. We're now just going to move that to a nightly. That allows us to, merge relatively fast onto master without, causing multi-hour backups or failed jobs. So, and that, of course, those merges to master are also competing for resources across the entire org of GitHub repos there. So it also affected other PRs against Custodian. Yeah, that's kind of about it. I feel like this is a winding topic down around the GUI that is key and crucial for all projects, but isn't really relevant for most. So I'll take a pause there. Thanks.
I was like, the exciting part only. It's like, that was the exciting part. Can you all see this? Am I on the PR's open list?
No.
Agenda items.
Hold on, I keep sharing the wrong window. One sec. How about now? No? Okay, I found it. I have a spare window of the exact same notes, slightly different. That's my issue. I apologize. Hey, all right.
That's a PR list.
Yeah, it is. Okay. The first we got 8336. I don't know whose this is. Is this yours?
Oh yeah, I boomed
Yeah.
that guy. I know. Kapil had jumped in on that one too, though.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, I know Kapil said looks legit too. It looked fine to me. We're just trying to figure out the just make sure we're covering the edge cases of this one in a way that is that makes sense. And in this case, that's topics, subscriptions that are going cross account. Just trying to think out. This has gone from more of an unused filter to kind of a related resource topic filter, I feel like, just based on the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got the case where there's a subscription in one account that targets a topic in another account. And my last question on this one is just what's the most sensible way to handle that? We could say that this related filter just doesn't match it. And so if you need to account for that, you do it by adding another filter to your policy, which seems like the simpler filter way to do it. Or we could do something else where we would just say if it's cross account, we just kind of pass through a topic R and match on that. I don't know if anybody has it. This is kind of in the weeds. I don't know if anybody has actual opinions on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like it looks straightforward. Like because it was so not obvious that this was actually a thing that people needed to do. I do feel like we could just use a unit test just to help
Cool.
validate that experience is still what's needed.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think I had some sort of discussion with Anant about that, so maybe we'll look to help get a unit test in there. And then for the case where we want to just focus on subscriptions that are pointing to topics in the same account, we could just add another filter and use that as an example policy then, so it's being really explicit. Yeah, that seems reasonable then.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. One thing I forgot in my little, if anyone else wants to come on this issue on the release engineering stuff, we've currently been doing AWS release testing in a Stacklet corporate account, but we just got, thanks to efforts of George, we now have a CNCF AWS account, and we're going to be moving the functional tests there and also running them out of GitHub Actions so that they are fully transparent to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet, thanks, George.
I just filled out a form. I mean, I moved heaven and earth to make this happen. Okay, next, 8309.
Yeah, do we have any Azure folks on the line? Folks who actively write Azure policies. I was looking for Azure instincts here. If we don't, then we can probably skip this thing.
Okay.
My only question on this is, like, I think it makes sense. Like, I understand why it's being useful. Yes, it's a more top-down sales. I should probably hold my tongue since we're recorded. But this particular feature set is useful. I think it makes sense for particular use cases. I mostly just had a question about like the double negative logic inside of it. I also just want to double check that we are primarily using underscores in that provider for configuration options versus doing a hyphen. And also, can we shorten that name or that configuration value because it feels like super long? Do we need the rule? No, probably not. Include Azure services is probably enough. But yeah, I mean, the overall on it, I think it probably makes sense. It's like, AJ, you had different feedback on this, so I definitely want to hear yours as well.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I have been trying to be upfront in that thread that I do not use Azure regularly, though I have AWS instincts and I'm speaking like Azure with an AWS accent. But yeah, I could see shortening that option to like skip bypass rules, false or something, where maybe it defaults to true, because we have the docs that call this out. The whole idea is that they use some of the Azure services have this special firewall bypass option, and then the database ones, they don't have a special bypass option, but they have kind of a magic to and from IP range that signifies like an Azure services range. So I say, okay, that's cool. We were treating it historically as a bypass because that's how it worked in other services. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe your feedback there makes sense to just try to shorten the thing and roll with what's already in this PR.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, effectively, they're like, if you don't trust Azure, like, you want to be able to flag it.
Yeah.
In this context, on things that are hosted in Azure, against that magic ID. Like, the logic on it seems, the reason why you want it is relatively clear for particular standards groups.
Yep.
I think it's just like the spelling, and there's a weird, like, ends up being like not against the value with the default of false to like it like that. It's like nitty gritty nitpicking. So don't really want to focus on that versus what's user exposed and looking at what's the common default already in that provider against underscores versus hyphens.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I was thinking about suggesting on that thread was like if you put, that doesn't really make sense. I was thinking if you put that range in, that magic range in, as something that you were trying to filter on, then it would just kind of like silently enable that, but that it would stop hiding it on the back end from the filter logic. But that's, I don't think that covers all cases, and the double negative, I guess, kind of shows that. Yeah, there's probably a better way. That's why I was trying to put some sample policies in. Like, is this the kind of thing we're trying to do? So we can make sure we're actually solving it. But okay, needs a little bit more work, but it's, like you said, the motivation makes sense.
And also recently engagement on from the PR author. Did we invite that group over, George?
We did, yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I missed his last. Oh yeah, we're an hour ago. Look at that. You're right. Fresh engagement.
All right, and then that leaves us with 8318. I didn't see this one earlier.
Oh yeah, this is the fun one.
Oh, okay, all right, good, a fun one.
It's fun, super fun. Yeah, we had multiple changes affecting the way that we're handling the variable interpolation and the policies. So we had now in braces, and it was replacing it with the policy runtime. But we're doing a pass through of the variable type now. So if we say just braces now, it goes and fills in not the date string, but an actual date object. And then when you go to do tag is trying to do another interpolation pass, and it tries to do like a string format on this thing that's the date object, and it goes pew. This it's not well, maybe we should consider a release blocker. This is
I was going to say, for the video, Kapila said, is this a release blocker?
Yeah, I think this is something that is been I got to look and see. I saw it looks like it would have started around whenever both of those PRs went live. But as far as ways to avoid it, we could have, when we interpolate now, we can have that explicitly produce like an ISO format string or something, but I don't think that works because people need to do some kind of munging on the.
These are fallouts from when I merged Kent's PRs. So because I remember he was playing around with the variable stuff, or is that from earlier?
Yeah, it's kind of a combo of two different fixes. So one had
I could guess one change, but like my initial read on this is like if something that was obviously working is now broken, that's a release blocker type of thing.
Yeah, no, that seems fair. As far as the way to fix it, it seems like special casing now and making sure that we produce a string seems like the most straightforward fix. I just don't know if that's like a flawed assumption, if I'm missing something there. Kapil or anyone else on the call might have some instincts about the way that's used.
I'm not spun up on this. Like, thanks for flagging it. It looks like a release blocker just on the initial read, but I haven't spun up, so I don't know.
All right, yeah, I'll try to get something together then. It might be at least proof of possible fix, and sometimes possible fix is easier to shoot down than hand wavy ideas.
Are they on what version? What version are they on?
They're on 0923, but this is.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a specific combination. Like you needed a couple different PRs to be merged, and you needed to be using now, and you needed to be using the tag action. So it's like like a confluence of factors that makes it show up. I mean, it's still a valid case, though. I mean, obviously, it is a bug.
Yeah. Subtlety.
You devil.
All right. Anybody else have comments on this one?
Yes, you're right. It's not a special case.
And that's it. Does anybody have an issue or a PR or anything burning for anybody?
Just a question. You guys were talking about release blockers and stuff. Are you looking to do a release in the next couple of weeks or something? Or
yeah, I mean, we do monthly, and generally we try to aim for the first half of the month. Sometimes we fall on to the third week. It's just a natural thing. There's a couple PRs up that increment the versions and like do some of the pre-work and upgrade the dependencies and all that. Like I said, there's been a lot of release engineering work to try to make that process a little bit simpler and more straightforward. But yeah, like generally speaking, we're aiming for monthly releases, and if we can even get it to be fully automated monthly releases, that is also a goal. Most of the other repos in the org actually have like push button like crank a release that we can put on our cron schedule if we wanted to. But Custodian's the only repo is the only one that has enough volume velocity around PRs where that's actually why we want to do it is like there's enough changes every month and just give people a regular cadence around it. But
Cool.
want to make sure that we have functional testing fully visible in the open, like, you know, working through the laundry list to make that that ideal goal, let's say, a reality. Get the humans out of the loop, let's say.
Yeah. A lot of these are just, I think, I haven't seen release engineering be the bulk of the list in a long time.
It's that thankless work that no one cares about, but it also makes things go better.
Feels good though.
Cool. And then the last release, I think it was sometime mid-month or something. So that, Kapil, you're kind of saying we're shooting for mid-month. Typically, it might stretch to the third week or something.
Yeah, if I go historically, like it's generally up mid-month.
Yeah.
And I'd love to by before the end of the year get to a fully automated thing where, you know, it's not even where it's just on the calendar, like it and it's clockwork, like it's on cron job, let me rephrase. And it just happens. And obviously in that context, it would probably be like I think the second Tuesday of every month is the one that doesn't fall on a holiday somewhere. Like
that's what we shoot for is the second Tuesday. But a few times there was one where we did a release and we went into the holidays, and if we would have done a release, there would have been like a handful of changes in it. So I think we skipped one at one point, if I remember right.
We did. I think we skipped one in the last like 3 months.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know the exact date.
Past across the last year or last 9 months, I think we've had about 8 months on that monthly cadence.
Cool.
Dope. Any other questions?
I got a general one question. ECS task definition delete is actually a thing now. You have to have your task definition revisions be inactive, which Custodian won't see them. Is there any consideration or thought of how we could use Custodian to actually delete task definitions, or is that a bridge too far right now?
No, I think that's totally reasonable. I mean, we already support it as a resource. I mean, are they still? I mean, they're still enforcing the this weird like 1,000 version limit on task definitions, which I think
it's a million revisions.
Oh, they've upped it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a million revisions, but our issue is you eventually get too many that you can't get them all through a run. You can't see them. But the complexity is we have Custodian has a delete call, which is actually deregister, and so we're gonna have to figure out what do we want to do with that.
Deregistered as in like a particular environment deployment setup.
Yeah, so the delete call deregisters a revision, a specific revision of an ECS task definition.
Oh, you want to delete the entire thing, irrespective of a revision. Got
it. Well, or delete revisions that are we're in the middle of we had to build our own lifecycle with Custodian to delete off old revisions because there were just too many to get through. Or sorry, deregister old revisions, and then Custodian doesn't see them, which makes it all great. But now we can delete stuff as well. So there's this. We call it delete in Custodian. It's actually deregistered. Now they've offered delete, and now what do we do with? Just a thought.
I think the best engagement on that would actually be filing an issue, like around the use case and what the possibilities are and what you'd like Custodian to do. I think it does require a little bit of spin up on that particular context, but I mean, it's totally aware that there are ECS task definitions and their versions are a pain point. And if we can help manage them better, that sounds great.
Yeah. Well, and there's a release. They're working now on an actual life cycle for revisions where you can age them out, or you can keep X number of past versions or revisions, which will help, but that's not there yet. So
is that so ECR lifecycle policies, but applied on a per task definition basis, or on a
per task definition basis? Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Cool. Like, I mean, that would also be helpful. But and we're happy to drive that when it comes out. But in the interim, we should also look at what we can do.
Yeah. All good.
So if you have bandwidth and
Yeah, we'll drop an issue and I'll see if I honestly don't know where we're going to go with actually deleting test defs. We haven't gotten there yet. We deregister them and Custodian can't see them and we no longer care. But that's not really a good
it's not
method.
gone yet. I gotcha. Fair enough.
All right, I'll drop an issue in.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Hey, Sonny. Hey, Matthew. Matthew, I don't know if you've joined us before, but do you want to do an intro or say hello?
Yeah. Hi. Glad to put some faces to the names. I've been a little chatty on your Slack channel, mostly bothering AJ with noobish stories and stuff that to use the tool in general. But really impressed with it. I wanted to use it for years, and I finally had a really awesome use case to put it to work here. So I've been using C7.org quite a bit because we run like multiple MPAs and hundreds of accounts. So it's been pretty fantastic for us. So really looking forward to seeing what you guys have cooking up.
Word. Well, that reminds me. How do you do like one of these community meetings as a roadmap thing sometime? But
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for joining and yeah, if you have any questions, obviously it seems like Slack. I've been dropping in and on Slack, but yeah, always happy to have another happy user and hopefully contributor in the future. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think so. You've had some good threads on in the Slack channel there, and I think it was from you. You had the question about C7.org and how it did how it was jumping roles for reporting. That was yours, right?
I think no. I think mine was more along the lines of like if I want to run like the account enumeration script multiple times and then avoid like duplicate top level keys. So I know enough Python. Maybe I can make a PR for that.
Nice. Yeah, but I mean, typically it's an overwrite mode. So like, what would like, because you want to manually add variables. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's legit. Cool. Those scripts are pretty straightforward, and they don't have those generation scripts don't technically have the testing wording on them right now, but maybe in the future. But no, that's actually a pretty solid first issue to contribute on. You have direct need, and those scripts are pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'd be glad to take a crack at it.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen on the pins in the Slack channel, we have a link to all the old workshops and things like that. So if you want to share the general information with like people at work and stuff, that's usually where I send people the workshop playlists and stuff.
And
awesome.
And if you're at Big Co, contributing generally means talking to your open source office, and some orgs have that fairly straight.
Yeah.
And especially since we're in CNCF as well, because they're already contributing in that context. Mm-hmm. Sonny, thanks for joining. Anything on your mind?
No, it's just running late from another meeting, so not sure what I missed.
We're promising you to finish automated releases, I think.
The discussion Phil fixed all of the poetry shenanigans, right? So now it's just poetry published.
I need some reviews on the PRs. I've got a bunch of them out there. So
yeah,
a bunch of release engineering boring stuff.
Yeah, I saw the new poetry plugin, which looked pretty slick. I haven't played around with any of it though, but it would. Yeah, I mean, sounds good for simplifying the release process for sure.
All that custom code that we had in Poetry Package went away. It was like the one thing that just like drops the version into a text file. That's it. That's basically the only thing we have left.
That's cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Last call, going once. Going twice. 20 minutes back, everyone. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Note to
everybody.
self will
Thanks,
follow
guys.
in the usual places.
Thanks, all.
Cheers.
Later, everyone.